Linda DiMario. I'm the Vice President, Economic Development and Tourism for the Irvine Chamber of Commerce, Irvine, California. I know you've heard this before, but there are no 2 days alike. But generally speaking, we're focusing on 3 major initiatives, and then everything cascades from that. International development. It's huge in Irvine, California, because we have Fortune 500 companies, global companies, and so we want to encourage small and medium-sized companies to explore exporting and the opportunities associated with trade, and also to cultivate our international outreach, because we have great diversity in the area, and we recognize the opportunities for entrepreneurship and education and communication and collaboration. The other things we work on are business attraction and retention, and that includes identifying the right companies that fit in this really unusual community that we have. It's a master planned community, and we have very important tech clusters and life science clusters. We are not, as many other cities are across the country, interested in the large data or distribution centers. We're looking to take advantage and leverage our talent that's coming out of University of California, Irvine, and our 15 other colleges and universities. So our business attraction is a little more precise. Do a lot of retention work to help companies at that tipping point grow. And the third thing we were working on is workforce development. We want to create that seamless workforce experience and career readiness experience, starting K through 12, technical as well as community college, and then of course taking advantage of our 4-year university experiences so that we have talent pipeline that's just solid for our current employers and future employers. I think, again, we're quite unusual in that we have an abundance of talent. And I do know that that's unusual because I've lived and worked in 5 states. Most of the communities with which I've been engaged have had their backs against the wall. They've lost the naval shipyard to a BRAC closing. They've lost their major employer. They've had a catastrophic event. They've had to reinvent themselves. And so Irvine is unique in that we don't have to create the same talent attraction mechanisms that other communities might. We have an enviable quality of life, a really terrific lifestyle. We're right smack in the middle between Los Angeles and San Diego. We're on the ocean. So add to that 15 colleges and universities with a presence there, talent's there. So for us, it's doing the match work with the right companies. When we're looking for either foreign direct investment companies that are coming from Asia or from Europe and they want a beachhead, if you will, in California, we can make that connection with the right talent much more easily than most. In my case, and I know I'm unusual in this regard, but I also think it brings a really interesting perspective because tourism is economic development. And my degree is in political science. And I started life in the public policy arena and managing political campaigns, and then somehow find my way into hotel and hotel sales management. Now, what's interesting about that is that at the time, I also identified myself as being in tourism or hospitality, when in fact I was part of an economic ecosystem. And over the years I came to learn that, and as I mentioned, sometimes the hard way, as in Oakland, when the 1989 Bay Area earthquake shut us down. We literally operated our destination marketing from 2 rooms in a hotel across the street because our building had been destroyed. So you quickly understand how important you are to the economic infrastructure of a city. Look at what happened after 9/11, how the hotels and restaurants and retail centers and transportation suffered so. So I think you learn sometimes the hard way. And in all the cities, as I said, in which I worked, including Tucson, Long Beach, California, and Arlington, Texas, we had challenges, but we had huge opportunities of which tourism was was pivotal, turned out to be essential. So I see it as being one of the economic ecosystem pillars in a community. Sometimes it's not as apparent. In the case of Las Vegas, there's no doubt. But when you're looking at a community like Bowling Green, or Dayton, Ohio, or Fremont, Nebraska, I think people tend to not appreciate it or understand it until you start putting 1 + 1 together and you realize that anyone coming from 50 miles or more outside your community is a visitor bringing you incremental income. In Long Beach, I had a city manager. I worked with a city manager. His name was Jim Hankla, and he was a longtime supporter and fan and member of IEDC. And when I left Arlington, Texas, to return to California to start my consulting practice, the first thing he said to me, other than, "Hello, glad you're back," was, "You should join IEDC." And of course, I'd heard of it, but I don't think I understood why he thought it was so important until he advised me that not only would it be a source of leads, so it was very practical for me. I would be able to communicate with a great many economic development organizations across the country, but he also recognized that I was bringing a perspective that would be valuable to them, but that they were going to be able to teach me a lot. And that has been the case since the day I joined. Even when I had my consulting practice, yes, there were a great many of these people were my clients, but more important, I learned from them every day. They're so generous and so smart, and the intellectual capital that is in this, as Jeff calls it, small industry, is just extraordinary. And so whether it's the art of the deal, or whether it's understanding business retention, or whether it's taking, I mean, I already have 18 ideas just from this day and a half already. Things that I think are translatable, in some way to the work that we're doing in Irvine. So it's incredibly valuable. It's been a great mind-expanding experience for me, and I know it really improved the quality of my work. There's a couple of them from my perspective. One is, I think, there's an anonymity factor that I think we suffer from, is that because we're not understood. We're not understood or truly appreciated for the scope of our work, that it's beyond just landing a new corporate headquarters or creating jobs. We really are integrally involved in sustaining the economic vitality of a community, or in some cases, breathing new life into it. And so I think it's hard to explain, and when what you do is hard to explain, I think that causes misunderstandings, and or where your expertise or resources are not called upon as readily as they might be. So I think that's one of the first challenges. The second challenge is competition versus collaboration. We need to learn the value of collaboration over competition. And I see it happening more and more with all the regional organizations that are sprouting up and growing and thriving. I still think, though, that the battle between Texas and California is an example. Texas flies in and poaches a company from California, and they yell hooray. All we did was just move jobs and money from one place to another. It hasn't changed the big equation of how does this country remain competitively, globally competitive well into the future. I think there's one big outstanding one, because it has such a high profile. I've been with the Irvine Chamber in the economic development role for 3 years now, and I went there after having done an inventory and an audit, if you will, of what was and wasn't working or what was missing. And it came to my attention that the international outreach had just not been satisfactory, and that in fact, World Trade Week, and we have $600 million in exports going out of Orange County, and it was not being celebrated or recognized as being a big part of the overall economy. And so we took the time over 18 months to develop a coalition. All the trade agencies that you would expect, Department of Commerce, U.S. Commercial Service, SBA, Small Business Development Centers, but we also took the time to outreach to our international American chambers. Every single one of them that was functioning, Filipino and Iranian and Hispanic, and what we did was we said, we want to collaborate on a World Trade Week event. Are you in? And over the course of a year, we worked and planned and developed and produced a World Trade Week breakfast and forum. What was special about that, it turns out, was that they'd been trying to do that for 20 years. And I don't think I realized the gravity of it until the day of the event. And the trade agencies were all standing there. And they were going, I can't believe we did this. Yes, we did. We collaborated, we made it so. In the first year, we had 246 people attend. The second year, we had 386. So we're going for 500 in 2017. And everyone has great confidence. So that was one way that we made a mark, and we let our companies know that we are serious about educating and inspiring them to explore and understand the value of exporting and growing their market share globally. Oh, wow. Obviously, technology. But I say that because you're looking at a very impatient person. And so if my computer is loading, at more than 3 seconds, I'm tapping my foot. So technology serves me very well for those that are wanting to get a lot done and are accustomed to moving quickly and moving information quickly. I think technology is just been amazing. So I think that's one of the obvious tools. I think the other tool, though, that may be overlooked is we have the privilege of working with 4, possibly 5 generations before I leave the workplace. I don't think that's ever happened before with as seamlessly and in such an exhilarating fashion as it is right now. I'm working with all 4 generations right now, and it's very exciting. I don't find it the least bit daunting. I'm learning every day. And as I said, it's exhilarating and energizing. Again, one of the more effective lessons that I've learned is, while I appreciate being appreciated, I appreciate being recognized, for me it's always understanding that I don't do this by myself. Whether it's the people that work with me every day that make it so, or whether it's the hundreds of chamber volunteers or community volunteers that decide to join you in a common purpose. Yeah, it's humbling, but it makes it very easy to share the credit then. So you stand shoulder to shoulder with them. You don't have to stand behind them. But when it comes time for recognition for the event, the activity, the success of the program, shoulder to shoulder, we made this possible. And I have never found that not to be true. So I think there's a way for us to stand up for ourselves and be recognized as the connectors, the conveners, the facilitators, the networkers, the people that make a difference and make things happen without standing with a laurel wreath over our head. The people who know, know.